What's going on, traders? Patch here, patch trades, if you will, and I'm here to talk about how in under 1 month I've more than doubled my trading account. So at the start of June 2026, I started a new live account. I'd been trading on a demo account prior to that to test my strategy and ensure that I was doing things consistently. Obviously, when you move from demo to live, even if you've broadly got good trading psychology down, there's always going to be like a little bit of a shift because it is different. Fortunately, I've upheld my strategy, stuck to the plan, kept up good psychology, and as of yesterday, so it's the 27th. Let me double check. Yeah, 27th of June today. As of yesterday, the Friday, the 26th of June, I'd reached the threshold of growing my account by 130%, which to me is crazy. What led to me getting into trading, and how did I get here? How did I do it? So over the last 6 or so years, maybe 7 years, I've dabbled in and out of trading. So the first year that I tried trading, it went awful, really bad. I think in that first year, I think I lost about 2.5 grand. Completely blew my account. So I say about 2.5 grand. It was pretty much exactly 2.5 grand. I can't remember the exact figure, but it was probably pretty much dead on 2.5 grand. A lot of money. It's not a small amount of money, especially when you're not, a big time trader with lots of expendable income and stuff like that. Yeah, I was starting, relatively small, but still a decent amount. And completely blew it. I just had terrible trading psychology. I hadn't honed my skill. I wasn't I wasn't like Jedi mastery of the markets. Like, I wasn't one with the markets. Certainly not at the time. Now, maybe so a little bit. As you can tell, I'm kind of chuffed with myself. Honestly, I completely outdone my expectations. I thought that I was maybe going to be achieving 30, 40, maybe 50% growth a month. Prior to going live, I initially had set myself a new demo account a few months back, about 4 months ago, and I decided for at least 2 or 3 months, I would just demo trade, make sure that I was consistent before I would commit to trading with live funds. So I did that, and anyway, towards the end of the 3 months, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do it, but I've only really got right now I'm signed off work, and I'm because of my Crohn's disease and the treatment I've been on, and having shoulder surgery, and I'm a full-time wheelchair user, so it's been a very complicated time, and not been getting income from my job because of exhausted occupational sick pay and statutory sick pay, which if you're not in the UK, that may not make sense to you, but basically I'm not getting anything from work, and so I don't have any kind of expendable income. What little help I get from the government at the moment, all goes on bills. I have nothing kind of spare at the end of the month. I was in this position where I could maybe scrape £100, which in theory you can start trading with that amount, but the starting process is very slow. Anyway, I was playing a computer game, and through that, I'd had a really good day on my demo trading, and I just kind of like mentioned it in passing, and then someone else in the game was like, "Oh no way, I'm actually a full-time day trader." Um, and then we got talking, and they're like an experienced trader. They've been doing it as their full-time income, like 7-8 years, they said. And anyway, they were like, "I'd be willing to float you like $1,000 to get you started." And I was like, "Oh, really? You don't know me. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to say no, but you know, what's the catch here? Like, what's going on?" And they were like, "No, it's just like, you know, I can," because I told them and ended up showing them, because we connected through Discord. I showed them, yeah, what my strategy was like, and kind of like outlined my trading plan and all that kind of stuff. And they were like, "Look, I earn like usually somewhere between 10 and 20 grand a week. So like in the grand scheme, like $1,000 isn't much for me, but I know how much that will help you get started with your trading journey. So I have to pay the money back eventually. There's no like contract or anything. It's, you know, not kind of a weird agreement or any way. Just, yeah, at some point in about a year's time, providing I've more than doubled the account, which obviously I've already done, then like I'll pay them the money back. But they don't want me paying them back any sooner than a year, because they obviously understand that, you know, for example, right now, like I've grown my account by 130%. So in theory, like I've more than doubled my account. I could technically give them that money back now, but they know that if I was to do that now, it effectively sets me back a month again. So the idea is to kind of allow me to compound my my trading account over the next year, to the point where, you know, come around in a year's time, I'll have plenty of spare capital, where paying them back that amount won't significantly set me back on my kind of like on my growth journey. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's just yeah, like I said, it's just mad that, you know, under a month, I've more than doubled the account. This last week in particular has been like the kind of the major tipping point. Because like prior to that, I think it was, I'd have to double check, but it was like I'd got the account to somewhere around 40-50% growth, and I very nearly last weekend, I very nearly decided to not trade anymore for the rest of the month. And then when Monday came around, I was like, "No, what? That's a terrible idea. Like, why would I stop when I'm doing so well? Like, I'm proving that my strategy is working. Like, trading with live funds, I'm still able to uphold my strategy, maintain my good psychology. Why would I stop? Why would I limit my success?" Not saying that I'm successful, but it has been a successful month. So yeah, I decided to keep going, and then yeah, this last week, like things exploded. Like my trades went way better than I even expected, and yeah, it's blown me away. Like the way it's going, I should be able to in about like 2 months' time, I should be able to actually start paying myself out an income from my trading, possibly an amount where it almost equates to, if not more, than what I was getting from my day job when I was actively working. That's bonkers to me. The reason why I'm so laser focused on my trading, or I'm like really diving into it and dedicating myself to it, is I have been having problems with my employer. So I can't go into too much detail for like obvious reasons, or maybe not so obvious. But anyway, I can't go into too much detail. But effectively, I've been signed off from work for like the last year, almost exactly. I think just over the last year, actually, largely because of my Crohn's disease. there's been lots of complications with my condition. I've had to go on numerous restarted acute treatments because I would go on one acute treatment and then come off it, and then my Crohn's would end up relapsing. I'd have to go back onto acute treatments again. And then earlier this year, I started a new long-term management treatment for my Crohn's, where I'm having biologic injections every 2 weeks. I'm still in the early stages of that. I'm now in the bracket of that treatment where I should hopefully start to be getting some improvements happening. They say like in the 3 to 6 month period after starting the course is when people typically start to see like noticeable changes. So I'm hoping that happens. Unfortunately, I'm currently in a formal absence review period with my employer, and it's been indicated that the HR department are now wanting to initiate a medical capability review, which in the UK is basically the process that an employer can go through that, if successful, allows them to legally terminate the contract of a disabled person by the nature of their disability, which, without doing the medical capability review assessment process, you could not legally do. It's the only way that they can essentially terminate my contract. The problem being is that like that process is really only to be used if there's like absolutely no chance of the person being able to return to work. And in theory, there is potential for me to be able to return to work. I don't yet know if this current biologic treatment is going to work for me. But even if it doesn't, there's still a few other biologic treatments that I can move on to. Biologics are basically like the gold standard for inflammatory bowel disease. So people with like Crohn's disease, like myself, or ulcerative colitis, things like that. Biologic treatment is like the gold standard. And if you kind of rule out all of the biologic options and none of them work, you're kind of out of luck at that point. There's a few other treatments you try before you go down the biologic pathway, which obviously I've exhausted, so we're now on biologics. But they're not seemingly willing to allow this full course of this first biologic that we're trying to work. And it doesn't sound like they're at all willing to wait for me to try a further biologic if this one doesn't work, which to me doesn't sit right, and it's made me feel like I can't fully trust in them or rely on them to be there for me, look after me. Like, my employer's meant to be, in the UK we've got a disability confident scheme, and my employer have leader status in that scheme, which basically means they're meant to kind of like show the way of how it's really meant to be done. The scheme in effect is meant to be about organization doing their best to recruit, enable and retain disabled employees. And obviously, this process is giving me an impression that they're not actually living up to those standards that they voluntarily agreed to. And not only that, but like as a leader status. And it's just eroded the kind of like the trust that I've got in them, at least from a HR perspective. My line management, the people that I've worked with day to day, amazing. Like I can't speak highly enough of them. But the way HR have been treating me in this process, I don't feel I can trust them. So that's why I've lent so much into the trading, because I needed to find a way to kind of make sure that I'm taken care of. And it's made me feel like what's been going on has made me feel like I can't trust any other employer, because who I work for, they're meant to be the best employer for disabled people in the UK, and certainly one of the best. And I feel let down. And so like I dabbled with trading on and off over the years, like I said, and I was like, what's one thing that I can do where I literally don't have to rely on anyone else? It's all down to me. And because of my circumstances, trading was the perfect answer, because like even on days when I'm so unwell that I can barely get out of bed, and apart from when I have to go to the bathroom, and even then, like, you know, I've got, you know, sometimes like, you know, I can't even do that. But even when I'm bedridden, like I can still have like my phone set up on my bedside table, and I can still do like, you know, a bit of chart analysis and then through trades, and manage open trades. And so it was like, it seemed like the perfect solution for me. So like, as long as I could prove to myself that I was consistent, that, you know, my strategy, you know, maintained a good win rate, I was getting a good return on all my trades, and yeah, I internally was maintaining good psychology, then if I could prove that to myself, then I would go all in. I'd do everything I could to make this work. And this first month, it's really been working. And yeah, I'm just, it's kind of blowing my mind. I'm still kind of like pinching myself all the time to be like, is this really happening? Like, am I awake? Or am I dreaming? But yeah, so like I said, you know, realistically, like within the next couple of months, I should be able to actually start paying myself out an income, and yeah, that will be life changing. And you know, if it keeps going the way it's been going, there's a good chance, and this might sound wild, but there's a realistic chance that, you know, in like by the end of 2027, in about 18 months' time, I could potentially be like, you know, somewhere in the value range of like a million or so, like, which it feels alien, but it, like, you know, I've double checked the projections, and like the maths does math, if that makes sense. It does add up. So obviously the plan over time, as I grow my trading account, that over time I'll kind of proportionately lower my risk percentage of the, you know, proportionally of the account equity, but you know, to a level where it still allows for, you know, decent level of compounding growth. And yeah, even with that like planned into my forecast, there's a good chance that, yeah, like in a year and a half, like I could be a millionaire. Which I'm laughing because it seems wild to even think that, but it's like, you know, the projection is well, it's not a given, it's not definitely going to happen, but it's fully possible if I continue to consistently perform the way I have been. Even not necessarily at, you know, 130% gain a month, because I don't think that I'll sustain that long term. Maybe for the next month or two, possibly, but like I said, I will be scaling down my risk over time. Realistically, my target is, you know, it is somewhere around like 50% growth a month. If I can achieve that, then amazing. So that's kind of like, you know, an overall update and kind of a bit of an explanation as why I'm leaning so heavily into the trading. Yeah, with my illness, it's kind of like it's the perfect thing that I can do, because there's not really any other job that you can do literally just from your mobile. There's only a few other things, and you know, trading is something that, one, I enjoy doing, and two, that I have the potential to make a lot of money from. It's like having a hobby that makes you money, essentially. Now, it's not that I don't consider it as a job, because I definitely do. Like, you know, it's not easy, but it's accessible. I can literally do it from my phone on the bedside table if I'm like in a bedridden state, which some days I am. Like some days, like I barely have the energy to like get out of bed and like, you know, sort myself out with some food and like relax on the sofa. A lot of the time, like I can at least like get up and get to the sofa. There's some days where I can barely get up, and it's I literally, all I'll do is save my energy for simply when I need to go to the bathroom, and that is it, the bare minimum. But like even on those days, if I'm like really like physically weak, as long as I've got like some mental capacity, I can jump on my phone and I can trade. It's amazing. It feels like black magic sometimes. Honestly, it does feel like, you know, unearthly, unnatural. Um, Before I started trading like 6, 7 years ago, like when I first heard about it, I was like, yeah, it all feels like a scam. And when I had my really bad first year, I was like, yeah, like the brokers just steal your money. Basically, they set you up to fail. But like realistically, if you're a good trader and you've got good psychology, actually, you know, that's not at all the case. That's not to say that there aren't dodgy brokers out there, because there very much are. I use RoboForex. Um, I've used them, yeah, basically for the last year, and yeah, I personally trust them. But that's just me. This is not financial advice. It's just, that's my personal experience. But if you're interested in looking them up, link in the description, RoboForex. But yeah, that's kind of like an overall update. Now, I will continue to do kind of like actual kind of like trade breakdowns like the previous video. But I just figured I'd give like a more kind of generic update, end of month roundup, and yeah, kind of explain kind of what got me into trading and why specifically I'm focusing on it now. But yeah, if you want to see some of the trade breakdowns for the trades that I've done this month, keep an eye out. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can see when I upload the next video, where I'll be doing some trade breakdowns. There's quite a few to go over. So what I'll do, because of my strategy, I'm a mean reversion grid-based trader. So typically I'll have a lot of like staggered trades on a specific instrument. But what I'll do is I'll do a trade breakdown based on the best, like the highest like level trade that was executed in each grid. And use that as the kind of like my breakdown. But I'll kind of like show all the key levels that I look at and why. And yeah, and hopefully it'll help some of you kind of understand a bit more about trading if you don't know much about it already. I still consider myself a rookie. I don't consider myself like a guru by any shot. Let me be clear. But I do seem to be doing a good job, I have to say. So yeah, no strategy is perfect. Trading is not 100%. Like, there's always going to be losses. It's about kind of, managing the risk and preserving your capital. Whilst it's a balancing act of kind of risk management whilst kind of like optimizing profits. So it's a bit of a juggle, but I feel like I found my groove, and I'm pretty chuffed with myself. Chuffed meaning proud for people that aren't from the UK. Yeah, I'm proud of myself. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this in some way or another. Thanks for watching. Like I said, be sure to like the video if you think this achievement's pretty awesome. Leave a comment down below to let me know what you think. Let me know what your recent successes have been, whether it's trading or something else. What have you been proud of lately? And yeah, be sure to subscribe if you're not already. Most of you on my last video were not subscribed, so please hit the subscribe button if you're watching this, especially if you're a returning viewer, and hit the notification bell, like I said, if you're wanting to be notified when my next video comes out, where I'm breaking down some of my bigger trades this month that have allowed me to achieve 100% growth to more than double my trading account. Yeah, like I said, links down below for the kind of apps and services and brokers that I use. So RoboForex is my broker. I use TradingView to do my chart analysis. I use MetaTrader to connect to my broker and actually execute the trades on my phone. Also use TradingView on my phone as well, but I can do everything on my computer if I'm getting to my computer. But most of the time, I just execute everything from my phone because it allows me to do it wherever I want. But yeah, you've been watching Patch Trades, aka Tom. Thanks for listening. Take care.